jackpot. 2 days in a row. I can't believe it. We've got the spotted eagle owl. Similar place to yesterday, but moved a little bit further in the riverbed. And nice and close. For now, still pretty relaxed. But we are trying our best not to move at all. We don't want this owl to get a fright and have to move. How good is that camouflage? So I was chatting about color the other day. Shapes and patterns also form part of that. It's not just color and breaking up a solid color that forms part of camouflage. 100% the patterns have everything to do with it. And you can see how it blends in almost perfectly with the bark of the tree below it and the sandbank behind it and all the roots hanging down. This is just exceptional. Doesn't seem too bothered about us at the moment. It's focusing on smaller movements somewhere. Oh, look at the pupils dilating. They're getting bigger, so it's focusing in more. It's letting in more light. It is definitely concentrating hard. Oh, look at that. Such quick movements of the iris. The iris is the yellow part of the eye. What are you seeing, owl? Wow. Magic Dragon Wizard, this is awesome. They are quite honestly hardly, and you can physically see the muscles in the eye moving and working. And those little ear tufts, I mean, have you ever? So cute. Now I want you to have a really good look at this owl. Look at what you think the texture of the feathers would feel like. It's so smooth on the top of its head. It looks soft. Look at how fluffy the chest is and that section around the face. Look at those feathers really closely, because yesterday we were chatting about owl feathers, we were chatting about eyesight, and I don't want to pull out any dye, because if I move that much, the owl is probably going to feel like it has to move. It's probably not familiar with big drawings being pulled out on pieces of paper. So I'll wait until we've moved off, and then I'll go into those conversations. But remember, all of those questions, keep them in the back of your mind while you're looking at the texture of the feathers on this owl, because it's important. Look at those fluffy bits coming out onto its beak, in between its eyes. It looks like baby fluff. It looks soft. It looks like a pillow. It's important for later. Keep it in mind. Also have a look at how the eyes are sitting. You can see that one is hidden at the moment, but the positioning is facing forwards. Just keep that kind of positioning in mind. Geezy, this is really cool. It's so special to be able to spend time with an owl ever, but in daylight and this close, we really are spoiled rotten with these spotted eagle owls. I hope that they decide to stick around for the long run. It's why we also don't like pushing them. When they have nests, they have an active nest that they use here every year. We haven't seen them nesting yet, but it's a matter of time. It's peak breeding season now, or peak laying season, I should say. And I'm hoping that they still feel safe enough in this area to keep using it. The fact that they're here tells me a lot, so I'm really happy about that. But it's also why we don't like to make big movements, pull out diagrams, things like that, because we want them to feel as comfortable as possible. If it opens its eyes again, I want you to have a look at those pupils. I don't know if you've noticed it yet, but an owl's pupils, as much as they dilate and constrict, so they get wider and smaller, bigger and smaller, have you noticed that its pupils don't move from side to side? They are constantly right in the center of the eye, and the eye doesn't move from side to side. I don't know if you've noticed that, but have a look. As much as it's checking us out and moving those pupils, it's not actually moving its eyes. It's moving its head. Also important for later. And look at the fluffiness of those ear tufts. That's a really, really nice way to remember an owl's feathers. Look how fluffy and soft they look, especially towards the ends. They're kind of frayed. Looks like a little fringe. So these are all key points to an owl's success. It is vital that owls have a slightly different strategy to every other bird of prey out here. It's still giving us a bit of a grumpy stare. So can you see all of these little movements that it's making with its head? Because an owl physically can't move its eyes in their sockets, it moves its head. I don't know if you knew that, but an owl doesn't have rounded eyes like us. It looks like they're round from here, but they're not. I'll show you what they look like a little bit later on the diagram. It physically can't move its eyes in those sockets. So where we can keep our heads completely still, look left, look right, your pupil moves to the left, pupil moves to the right, an owl can't do that. So to compensate, it has to have good flexibility and it has to be able to move its head. So it moves its head a lot. It's also part of the reason why owls can turn their heads so far around beyond 180 degrees to 270 degrees. So that they have a good range of vision, but also so they can compensate for the fact that they can't move their eyes. They move the whole head instead using a very flexible neck. Now, it doesn't look like it even has much of a neck because of the way it's sitting, but it does. Its neck is actually much more advanced than ours. Hidden in that fluffy chest, that burst of feathers with beautiful spots on them, is a neck with 14 vertebrae to allow it to have that flexibility and strength. Isn't that amazing?